Welcome back, Barbados, to episode 2 of the Safety Logs podcast, hosted by OBL Barbados Distribution Limited, where we talk everything safety from both an occupational and personal perspective, because safety is everyone's responsibility, and we're here to help. So today, I'm very excited because we have as a guest, Mr. Simon Alleyne. He is a program officer at the Department of Emergency Management. He's a disaster emergency specialist, and specialist because he has over 15 years of experience in this field. So he's the right man to talk to for this, our hurricane preparedness episode. So thank you so much, Mr. Alleyne, for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Zelina. It's so good to be here.
Oh, I'm excited. And I know that's not what you want to say when you're thinking about hurricane preparedness, but I believe everyone should be, because if you're not excited, that means you're not interested in it.
That's
and
right.
You should be interested in hurricane preparedness because of where Barbados is situated, our history with hurricanes, although they don't strike us as often as our counterparts in the region, it's still a very prevalent threat to us.
You're right. And I always want to remind people that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when we may be struck by a hurricane. And it's important to realize that all it takes is one major hurricane to cause significant damage, whether it's category 1 to 5. If we are not prepared, what would happen is that we have significant losses, damages to property, as well as casualties.
Yeah, I've been privileged, I think, in that my lifetime I have not experienced anything as major, but I have friends in the region, and like you said, it was one hurricane that passed through 3 years to rebuild, if so much or so little.
That's right. So that's why it is important for us to understand that there is personal responsibility and there's governmental responsibility. So I work with DEM, the National Disaster Office, that's responsible for what government has to do to ensure that Barbados is safe. So we coordinate the emergency services, we do a lot of emergency planning, we do exercises and drills, simulation exercises to test our infrastructure, to test our plans, and more importantly, to ensure that we are ready to respond. But there's also the responsibility on the private citizen, the average Barbadian that is out there. It is your responsibility that come every hurricane season that you have the necessary supplies. And there's no better place to go if you want to get hurricane supplies than OBL.
That's right.
OBL is actually one of our big suppliers at the Department of Emergency Management. From first aid kits to lights to boots, they have all the things that you need.
Yeah. And I think what a lot of persons need to recheck in their minds is that we can't wait for something to happen, for that advisory to come down, for 4 hours out from a hurricane to hit, to now decide we got to go shopping, we know how to get these things. It's called hurricane preparedness.
Right. It can't be reactionary.
Yeah.
It is being proactive. And we understand the hurricane season is from June to November every year. So for more than half of the year, there is the expectation that if you don't have a hurricane, you can have a tropical storm, you may have a weather system, a tropical depression, that can cause significant damage. So for example, Hurricane Beryl, Barbados had a touch of Hurricane Beryl. We didn't get a full impact, but it caused a lot of storm surge. We had a lot of flooding, and a lot of the damage happened along the west and the south coast of Barbados. So it's important for us to take hurricane preparedness seriously, to recognize that we not only have to be prepared by having the right items, but we also have to insure our properties, insure our contents, and more importantly, listen to advisories and updates from the reputable authorities.
Okay, so you've listed a lot of things that we should do. What is your biggest pet peeve when it comes to Barbadians and hurricane preparedness?
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that, Zoina.
Yeah.
I do not understand, and I do not like that people are still using kerosene lamps.
In this day and age?
In this day and age.
Really?
Now, a kerosene lamp is nice. It is more a decorative ornament, or has more ornamental use than to be actually used practically during a hurricane, because it can be a fire hazard.
Yeah.
Number 2, the light that comes from the chimney, as you call it, of the lamp is not very bright. It's like yellow. And then the third thing too is that it has a lot of soot coming from it. So it's not, my grandmother used to use
I was about to
kerosene
say,
lamps.
the last time I saw one was in my grandmother's home.
Exactly. And then after a while, what my grandmother did, she didn't use it anymore. She put these little beads and stuff in it. So it was more ornamental and decorative. So we would advise people then to use the rechargeable or battery operated lamps that come now in a lot of different features. You might get an electric lamp that also has a radio feature.
Oh, have one of those right here.
But there you go. Actually, my father has one of these at home.
Yeah, these ones are really good.
They're really good. So you have a light. It's portable. So wherever you go in the house, you can take the light with you. So a kerosene lamp is not portable. And if it drops and it breaks, it's glass, it is kerosene, and then there's fire.
Yeah.
So we don't advise people to use kerosene lamps. So if you're still using a kerosene lamp, shame on you.
Stop it right now.
Stop it.
So just out of curiosity, lamp versus flashlight, any preference?
Right. So flashlights are portable, but flashlights only give you a certain light in a particular area.
Yeah.
So if you're spotting a flashlight wherever, but a lamp now has the ability to illuminate a room or a small space in a room. So you have to have a balance of both. You need to have lamps in rooms, but then you also have to have your flashlights. If you need to get around, if you have to move around, you have your flashlight.
Okay, so is there a best practice you think people should definitely be engaged in as soon as June 1st hits? This is definitely something you have to do for hurricane preparedness.
Right. So along with getting your lamps, you got to get batteries. That's the thing. A lot of people have lamps, but they don't have batteries.
Yeah.
So lamps and batteries go hand in hand. So you got to got your size D, size C, and also the lantern batteries are the square ones to put into your lamps. So that's one thing. You need to have more than one lamp. You have your lamps, but you also have your flashlights. They can be rechargeable or they can be the battery operated ones. You also need to have, as you prepare for the hurricane season, look at your inventory of canned goods, or should I say the non-perishable items. Because a lot of people have non-perishable items that have already expired. So you go into your, so you go into, as you would call it, the larder. You go into the larder, or you go into your cupboards. You look at those tuna, you look at the corned beef, you look at the biscuits, you look at the expiration date, and then you rotate them out, right? So you have those things. You also ensure that you have adequate supplies of bottled water. Bottled water is very important, and they're cheap now. You can buy cases of bottled water, stock them up for drinking, of course, and you need to have your own personal care items. Wipes are very important. Personal wipes, feminine wipes for the ladies. Ensure that your medication is up to date. You have your inhalers. If you're on any kind of diabetic or hypertensive medication, you have the medication there. So there are a lot of things. Ultimately, you should have a checklist. You got your little OBL book. And you open and you got your little checklist and you're going, okay, check, I did this, I did that, I did this. And then you get your whole family involved in it. So even in terms of switching off the lights, who's responsible for turning off the breaker? Who's responsible for turning off the gas? Who's responsible for turning off the water? Those are the things you have to look at.
And if you have to go to a shelter, what's your recommendation for persons in terms of like hearing advisories? How soon do you get to move in or what?
Right. Well, but the good thing in Barbados is that through the public information system, we are able to send out these notices to the public. So you will hear on the radio or via television, or you might receive a message on your cell phone that the public shelters are open. So when you go to the public shelter, you're not going with your bare hands. You walk with a go bag. Now, a go bag basically has the essential items that you need to take you through the passage of the hurricane. So what are some of the things you need? You need some dried or canned goods, some food items, some water. You also need to have your personal effects and documents. You need to secure your passport, any of your title deeds, your insurance policies, and so on. And you put them in watertight containers or Ziploc bags and so on. And you make sure that when you go to the shelter, that you have the things that make you comfortable. You might need to walk with a neck pillow in case you want to rest. You might want to walk with sheets and a pillow. So when you go to the shelter, you walk with basically a small Pullman or a small, what you would call a hand luggage with the things that you need to take you into 24 hours. Because remember that after the passage of the hurricane, there is no switch that you can just flip back on Barbados. You will see that there will be a lag in cell phone service. There may be the absence of electricity for a while. There may be the absence of running water or even natural gas and so on. So you need to be self-sufficient. And the only way you can be self-sufficient is if you have the supplies in a go bag.
Okay. So this brings me to my favorite segment, which is called That's the Law.
Wow.
I know, right? Are you a Law and Order fan?
I sure am.
I'm crazy about Law and Order. So this is where we talk about a fictitious case study, and you give me your insights into one or two questions that we have based on this specific case. And because we deal primarily with occupational safety, this is related specifically to a business. So for this case study, we're looking at Caribbean Textiles Limited. They're a production factory that deals with textiles, and they handle the process from raw material to finished product, and they have 120 employees.
All right.
So they there were repeated advisories about the landfall of Hurricane Bobby, which is Category 4, and the management has made a decision to delay, not stop, but to delay the closing of the business and securing the location based on previous years where advisories were given, but there was no real landfall, nor was there any serious repercussions from a landfall coming to the island. So they kept the business operational to meet the deadlines and rather than secure the business or the business assets.
Wow.
So this poor management and lackadaisical attitude has, towards the hurricane advisories, had a severe impact on the business where the facility was flooded and there was property damage where it partially collapsed after the hurricane arrived and 60% of their inventory was lost.
Oh no.
So in their efforts to mitigate the crisis of damage, they recalled their workers immediately after the national all clear was given. However, a proper inspection was not done of their property, and while the 2 employees were kind of cleaning up around and shifting through debris, they were injured by further collapse of the business. So there are 2 questions here that we want to look at. What are the obligations of a company upon hearing advisories? And further to that, what are the shutdown notifications that they should be giving to their employees? So we'll tackle that one first, and I'll ask the second one after.
Right. So every workplace, every company has a duty of care to its employees. And the duty of care is to ensure that they work in an environment that is safe and conducive to their well-being. So whenever an advisory is given, especially if it's given as a hurricane watch, hurricane watch is given 48 hours before the landfall of a hurricane. Hurricane warning is given 36 hours before the impact of a hurricane. So what that does is that it gives the company or the business the time to close or slow down its procedures, close, and then allow the staff to get home. I think that in this situation, because of the past, where they said that, well, we shut the business early, or we shut it at the time that we were supposed to, and nothing happened, they had a sense of apathy. But you can't do that because every hurricane season is different. And because you were able to miss a hurricane in 2024 or 2025, that may not be the case right now in 2026. So they need to comply by the shutdown orders given by the government. The government would declare, okay, the national shutdown procedure is happening now. The last bus will leave Bridgetown, or the last bus will leave wherever at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. It is expected that everyone will be home. If you want to get home, you need to be on that bus to go home. And as a result, this is where HR comes in. HR and the rest of the management teams, you meet with the workers, you let them know what is happening. So before you just run and abandon the workplace, you secure all of the valuable assets, the machinery. You make sure the machinery is covered so it can't be damaged by water or any other elements. You ensure that all of the various utilities are off. The shut-off valve for the electricity, for the natural gas, for the water, they are turned off. And everyone knows the contact numbers for those persons who will be responsible. And then you say, okay, we are fully finished. We're closing operations. We will contact certain staff to come into work after the all clear is given. It should not be done willy-nilly. The staff that knows they have to report to work should already know that after the all clear, I am rostered to work. Sometimes good employers, if they have a vehicle or they have transportation, they will try to facilitate the movement of their staff from home or meet them at a general or central collection point and get them to work. Because we can't assume that because the all clear is given, that minibuses and transport board buses will start back running just like that. So a good employer would ensure that there is the necessary, what I will call framework and plans in place to get workers from home to the office or the workplace after the impact of the hurricane.
All right, so that actually answered my second question I had for you, which is what are the follow-up procedures after an all clear has been given? So I'm going to ask you another question that came to me while you were speaking about the last bus finishes at 4.
For example,
if I hear that as an employer, should I consider maybe people might not have enough hurricane supplies, let me shut a little early and give them time to go and shop and get something? Or should I just say, all right, last bus is 4, a 3:30 shutdown is fine?
Well, 3:30 is cutting it too close. So usually with any company, there may be subsidiaries or there might be a parent company that you report to. So after having the discussions with the parent company, whether the company is based regionally or internationally, and you let them know what is happening in the country, it is up to the management of the company to determine, you know what, the last bus is moving at 4, but realistically, I need my staff to wrap up here at 1 o'clock so that they can get home and do whatever last minute preparations that they should do. It is not expected that at that time that they should be rushing to go into the supermarket, but sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
So we want that staff of any business leading up to the hurricane, because don't forget there is the hurricane watch that would have been given 48 hours before. So during that time when you get the hurricane watch notification, you would have already started to put things in place. You know where your children are going to go. You know the nearest hurricane shelter to you. You have your supplies, so that by the time that you're finished work on the day of the hurricane warning, you know that, all right, I did all the things I could do. It's just to go down, go home, and make sure everything is great.
Okay. Well, that's all, guys. So, Simon, we're going into our myth-busting segment, which I'm going to ask you a couple of things that people may have concocted in their heads regarding hurricane preparedness and hurricane seasons that could be a myth, that's really a lie they're telling themselves, or it's not a myth and it's the truth that we should really engage and lean more into this practice.
All right.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so our first myth is you'll always get plenty of warning before a hurricane hits. Is that a myth or not?
That's a myth.
Okay.
You don't always get early warning. And the thing about it is that although, let's look at how hurricanes develop. Hurricanes have a way of escalating. So even when the Met Office is monitoring a tropical depression or a tropical storm, and we've seen it in instances where it moved from a tropical storm to a Category 3 hurricane in a couple of hours, that does not always give you enough notice. So you don't always get early warning when it comes to hurricanes because of how quickly those systems can develop.
Yeah, and you know, that was a myth when I was younger. No, I've grown up since.
Yeah.
That used to be because when you were in school would close early in anticipation of. So
true.
I grew up thinking, yeah, you always got enough time, and then I became an adult, and I was like, oh no, it's not always enough time.
Nope.
So our second myth: evacuation orders are optional. You can decide later.
That's a myth.
Your face. Yeah.
That is a myth, because when the government of Barbados declares it's evacuating people on the southern coast or on the western part of Barbados, and the BDF and the police are there in the communities asking and advising people to leave, you have to comply and you have to leave.
Okay. I hope you guys heard that. If you see
gotta
those
go.
boots on the ground, you gotta go. All right, our myth number 3, if your house is on high ground, you don't need to worry about flooding.
Not a myth.
Okay.
Right. Houses that are elevated and that are on high ground don't usually have the potential to be flooded. So let's just say, for example, you live on Oystins Hill. You're at the top of the hill. All the water is going down the hill. Once you're in an elevated place, you don't have as much likelihood to get flooding. So that's true.
Generators are safe to use indoors.
No. Generators are not safe to use indoors. And why is that? Most generators are either diesel or gasoline operated. And as a result, those fossil fuels release carbon monoxide. So imagine if we're in here with a generator and it's running, it would affect the air quality. So we have a reduction in oxygen. However, there are some new solar powered generators that are quiet, that don't require gasoline or diesel. So yes, those ones, the newer ones, can be used indoors, but I would not advise gasoline or diesel operated generators to be used in the same area that people are staying.
Yeah. And if it's solar powered too, I feel like you should be out in the sun.
Right, your panel might be out with the sun, catching the electricity.
No put that indoors at all. All right, this one is a personal one for me.
Okay.
That I think should be, but is not the way here in Barbados. Pets will be allowed into all public shelters.
That is incorrect. That's a myth.
Yeah.
So, as a pet parent, you need to put the necessary plans in place for your pet. For example, there are a number of kennels across Barbados that would take both dogs, and some do take cats. And you're able to put them there and they're safe during the passage of a hurricane. Another option is that you have your animal tagged. If either it's tied electronically with a chip or it has on the collar, and if you have to let the pet go into the wild, you can do that with the understanding, hopefully the pet will come back home. Mm-hmm. If you're at home, you should allow the pet to come inside the house, but you prepare an area, a small area for your pet. If the pet is not house trained, you may need to put down various newspaper, or you have a litter box and so on, so that if the pet is inside and it has to go to the bathroom, it has to be fed, it is in a controlled environment. And remember too, hurricanes are very traumatic for animals because they have very sensitive hearing. So the lightning and the thunder, more so the thunder, it affects the hearing.
Yeah, and that's good advice that I needed to hear as a pet parent, because my first thought is grab them all and we're gone and we're going. So preparation is definitely needed.
Yes.
We don't consider our pets enough in hurricane season.
No, we don't.
That advice you gave just now about releasing them into the wild, I know a lot of pet parents will be scared to do that, but sometimes it may be necessary to...
If you're going to a hurricane shelter and you can't bring the pet, or you can take the pet by a family member that knows the pet, that the pet is comfortable with, so that it can allow for the pet to be sheltered during the hurricane.
All right.
But animals do have a very good survival instinct. And once you have the animal tagged, it is easy to identify the animal being yours. So you see it comes back with a collar or it has the chip in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have one last myth. Boarding windows and doors with plywood is enough to protect your property.
It is not enough. So that is a myth. It's not enough. Just having the plywood sheets and so on at the doors and windows, that's not enough. You have to also consider the outside of the property and removing any of the debris that could be blown around during the hurricane. On top of all of that, ensuring the building, your home, the property that you're at is very important. If you're in a rented property, you check with the landlord to make sure that the house or the apartment is insured. Regardless of if your landlord has the place insured, you insure the contents of your property. So even if the landlord does not insure the apartment, you ensure that all of the items that you hold dear to you, your flat screen TV, your 20 red bottom shoes, your 20 pairs of red bottom shoes, your extensive Pandora collection, you put a price tag on them, you insure all of them, you pay per month for them, and you're good.
Okay.
They can be replaced.
That's a reminder for persons. I think people hold on to the items and they value them so much that they endanger themselves to get it, but don't do that. They're just stuff, they can be replaced.
That's right.
So that's our segment, Mythbusters. Okay, so now we're in our quick fire segment. This is our safety do's and don'ts. You just tell me if you agree or disagree.
That's right.
So first up, wait for the advisory to purchase hurricane supplies. Don't do that, okay? Rely on standard homeowners insurance for disaster coverage. Okay? Install storm shutters and reinforced doors. Keep fuel in your vehicles and keep battery packs. Keep a physical battery-operated radio. Double down on that for sure.
For sure.
Store 1 gallon of water for a family of 4. You want to explain that one?
You need a lot more than that. You need at least 5 to 6 gallons of water because you have a family of 4. Yeah. So you need to have more water because people will use water to drink. You're not supposed to really, with your potable water, you're not supposed to bathe with it, but somebody might want to wipe off and so on. But that water for drinking purposes only has to be enough for a family of 4. And 1 gallon is not enough.
Okay. And our last one is you don't have to turn off your utilities.
No, you got to turn off your utilities.
Okay. You want to tell them why?
Right. Before, when the hurricane is imminent, you should turn off your utilities for the simple reason. When they come back on, there might be a giant surge in electricity. So it can damage equipment, it can damage that fridge, it can damage any sensitive stereos or flat screen TVs that you have. So we advise people, you just turn off the power by the breaker box. You turn off the water outside. You turn off the gas and so on. You go outside and you turn off the natural gas or the bottle gas. Yep.
Okay.
That's very important.
All right, thank you very much. That was our safety do's and don'ts.
Can I keep these?
Sure. So, Simon, this has been a very informative segment, I think, for this episode, especially because hurricane season, as you said, starts June 1st.
That's right.
For 6 months of the year, it's a big chunk of our existence, even though some people get comfortable and reactionary to it. I see the smile. You know what I'm talking about.
I do know.
So, are there any closing statements you would like to leave the Barbadian public with as we come on to our hurricane season?
Yes, I think that the first thing I want to say is that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Government has a responsibility to the nation of Barbados, and that's why the Department of Emergency Management exists, along with our emergency preparedness partners. But every citizen has a personal responsibility to take hurricane preparedness seriously and to be ready. Get the supplies that you need. Hurricane season is from June to November, 6 months of the year. Don't try to get all the supplies that you need in the first 2 months of the hurricane season. But during June to November, you should have the necessary things you need. Outside of the food items, you need a hammer, you need tarpaulin, you need to have your radios, your battery-operated radio. You need to have the things that are important for your survival and existence. So one of the things you can do, you can follow our Department of Emergency Management page. That's DEM Barbados on Instagram. To get more information about hurricane preparedness and all hazards, there's dem.gov.bb for information. And more importantly, when you want to purchase your supplies and you want high quality equipment and safety supplies, come to OBL.
Yeah. We have the basics, the safety of the person, the home. We can find that here, or your business.
That's right.
So thank you so much, Simon. This has been honestly a great episode for me. Very informative. I used to be, I'm going to keep saying used to be because I've grown so much.
Right.
One of those reactionary persons. But since I started working here at OBL and understanding like how it can just be a quick change and it affects all of us, and it just takes one accident for you to be affected for a lifetime.
That's right. So we have to develop a culture of preparedness in Barbados. We need to develop a culture of preparedness in our business places, in our schools, across the island. And once we do that, we will have a safer and a more productive Barbados.
Yeah. So you guys, you follow the Department of Emergency Management, stay up to date, lock into your radio stations to hear updates from the government, and stay safe during this hurricane season. Thanks for watching.